Today I'm breaking down a fantastic e-bike I've been riding for the past couple months, the GrandTeton Pro from VanPowers. So what is it? It's a sub $2,000 Class 2 e-bike that actually rides like a real mountain bike. It's got the performance to hit the trails, but the range and comfort to handle long commutes. It's stable enough to feel solid and nimble enough to have fun. Now before I nerd out too hard, let's knock out a couple of quick disclosures. VanPowers sent me this bike, I did not buy it. That said, this isn't a sponsored video, and I'm not getting paid to make it. Anytime a product shows up in exchange for a video, I do my best to keep it real and stick to the facts based on my actual experience. I know how frustrating it is trying to research a big purchase and not knowing if the creator is being biased. So just to be clear, this isn't a review. It's a hands-on experience video after riding this thing for the past couple months. Here's what to expect in this video. I'm breaking it down into sections, all timestamped in the description and pinned in the comments, unless I forget of course. It happens. We'll kick it off with a quick unboxing and build. I promise it'll be fast. Then dive into the specs, performance, ride feel, and most importantly, the fun factor. Oh, and I'll do my best to stay out of the frame so you can focus on what really matters. This bike getting put through the gauntlet. Alright, let's get to the unboxing and build. Honestly, it doesn't matter what's inside. When a box shows up this big, it's always exciting. Ripping it open feels like Christmas morning, and inside you'll find a manual, front axle, pedals, some hardware, a battery key, all the tools you'll need, and a 54.6 volt charger with an indicator light. Oh, and the bike of course. The build is pretty straightforward. First, peel off all the protective wrap. It's everywhere. Then you'll need to mount the handlebars, front tire, and fenders. I started with the bars, loosely screwed in all 4 bolts, adjusted the angle, then tightened them down in an X pattern. Pro tip, don't over tighten them, bad things can happen. Next, I propped the bike up on a stand and got to work on the front wheel. You'll remove the fork support axle by unscrewing 4 nuts. Then pull out the plastic spacer between the brake pads so the rotor can slide in. I also pre-mounted the headlight to get it out of the way, but heads up, it shares a bolt with the front fender, so it'll have to come off again later. Wheel goes in, axle slides through, tightened it down while holding the nut on the other side. Then I popped off the headlight and mounted the front fender. Usually a pain, but the holes lined up nicely this time. A few screws were kind of tight to get to, but a little patience and a quarter turn at a time and I got it done. Now for the wiring. This setup's a bit different. The screen is pretty small, way smaller than most other bikes I've tested in this category, but to be honest, with the mountain bike feel of this bike, I came to really appreciate that. You mount the display and controls on the bars, then plug the wires in under the head tube. They're color coded, so you pretty much can't mess it up. Last steps, put on the pedals, air up the tires, and it was ready for its first ride. Well, except I was hungry and cranky, so I called it a day and went in for dinner. I live in the Seattle area, and for most of the time I've had this bike, it's been nothing but wind and rain, so getting out for a ride, let alone film with drones, has been a bit of a challenge. But about a week after the build, the sun finally came out and I got my first real ride in. The goal for that first ride? Just get the feel of the bike, and don't do anything dumb. Right away, it felt like a legit hardtail mountain bike, like one you actually take out on trails. The handlebars are wide, and the front end geometry is slack enough that I don't feel like I'm gonna fly over the handlebars on a steep descent. I also noticed how quiet it was. I've reviewed other bikes where you can hear the rotor scraping, the fenders rattling, and the brakes sounding like metal grinding on metal, but this one, it just sounds solid. That said, the motor does make some noise. It's not bad, but you'll definitely hear it, especially when you're using just the throttle. Take a listen. Before we dive into the funnest part of this video, the performance and the fun factor, which I'm sure you're all here to actually see, let's run through the specs real quick. The top speed is 28 miles per hour while pedaling and 20 miles per hour on the throttle. That's not the cap though, I coasted downhill over 30 miles per hour. What's cool is the motor seems to disengage at high speed, so it doesn't hold you back. The bike weighs 76.7 pounds or 34.8 kilograms. It rolls on 26 by 4 inch tires and is powered by a 750 watt brushless hub motor. The battery is a 48 volt, 14.7 amp hour or 705.6 watt hour removable lithium ion with BMS and a IP67 rating. You also get a front light with high and low beam plus a tail light. The frame is 6061 aluminum alloy and the front suspension gives you 120 millimeters of travel. It's equipped with a Shimano Q's derailleur and a 9-speed cassette. also Shimano. The handlebars, which is something I talk about often in this video, are 270 millimeters wide. VanPower claims up to 93 miles of range. I haven't put that to the test, but honestly, these things last forever. I rode for 3 days, filmed everything, and only burned about 30% of the battery. The rear rack supports up to 120 pounds, and the total bike load capacity is 400 pounds. You get 4 ride modes: pedal only, economy, sport, and boost. And it comes with a van life app. Now I'm combining performance and fun factor into one section because honestly with this bike, they're the same thing. Now I want to take a second and talk about the tech on this bike because VanPowers actually surprised me with the level of features and data packed into the setup. Let's start with the display. The first time you hit the info button on the controls, you get a 4-way split screen showing your trip distance, your time, odometer, and estimated range. Hit the info button again and you get even more data: average speed, calories burned, max speed, and average power. There is a lot of information for such a small display, but it never felt cluttered or overwhelming. After about 30 seconds, the screen will automatically snap back to the main view. Press and hold the info button and you'll get into the settings menu, where you can sync with the phone app, reset the odometer, clear trip data, adjust brightness, set the time, and more. Speaking of the phone app, let's take a closer look. When you launch it for the first time, you'll create an account, then scan the QR code from the bike's display settings to register your bike. Once you're in, the app gives you a full dashboard with your ride stats. When you're ready to ride, just hit go. The dashboard will show you speed, calories burned, ride time, remaining battery, estimated range, you name it. One of the best features? Built-in navigation. You can set a destination and it will guide you with turn-by-turn directions right through your headphones, or a heads-up display if you mount your phone to your bike. I tested it by asking for directions from the park to a nearby Safeway, and it routed me there without needing to switch between other apps. There's also a community section, and you can get quick access to your bike's manual, all inside the app. Now, a couple of things I'd like to see improved. First, ride tracking doesn't start automatically. If you forget to hit start ride, your trip won't be recorded. I forgot more than once, so a bunch of my rides didn't save. An auto start feature would be a big win. Second, the navigation doesn't recalculate if you go off route. You'll need to stop and restart directions from your new location, which feels a bit clunky. That said, even with those 2 gripes, the app is far ahead of what I've seen from their competitors and other e-bike brands, so overall, well done, VanPowers. My test ride started simple: a chill cruise through the neighborhood. Sidewalk riding isn't exactly thrilling, but if you're considering this as a commuter, I figured it was worth showing. Let me just say the 750 watt motor has plenty of power. I'm 6'1" and weigh 185 pounds, and this thing didn't even hesitate on steep hills. I even took it to the steepest hill I could find, supposedly over 20% grade, can't confirm, but it's gnarly, and it climbed it with zero struggle. Well, depending on the ride mode. A lot of the scooters that I take up this hill are not able to do it. It's now we're on number 1, the easiest gear. On eco mode, definitely feeling it. You certainly feel a little bit of the help, but it's a lot of work. So let's say you're going up a hill and you're feeling the grind. I could make it up here, but I don't want to use that much energy. I got a long ride ahead. I'm gonna go up to sport mode. And now it's absolutely nothing. You don't feel anything at all. Do I have another level? Boost mode. Oh yeah. you almost just take off completely. I made a stop at a little track, and here's where you feel one of the few downsides of the fat bike. The wide tires and added weight make it hard to lean into turns, even on berms. But as every rider knows, just add speed and most problems go away. Then I shot down a long hill to test the throttle and brakes in an urban setting. Throttle held steady at around 19 miles per hour. Aside from the motor, the ride was quiet, and the wide handlebars gave it a really solid, stable feel at high speeds. For balance, I hit a basketball court and tried a wheel stand. Just to give context, on my analog mountain bike, I can hold one for 3 to 5 minutes on a good day and maybe 30 seconds on a bad one. With this nearly 80-pound e-bike, I managed a little over a minute. Honestly, that's impressive to me. Next to the court was a super steep, grassy hill starting at around 35% grade and mellowing out. In sport mode, the bike climbed it without issue, and coming back down is where that front-end geometry really shines. The fork angle is just right. You never feel like you're going to go over the bars on a steep descent. I had to do this a couple times because on an analog bike without the power of the motor, I never would have made it up this hill. Before I left, I kicked it into boost mode and had some fun popping wheelies, or at least trying to. It's wild how much power that mode gives you. And the fact that you can wheelie an 80-pound bike, that speaks volumes about the balance and weight distribution of the frame. Then it was time to hit the trails, where the bike really shines. I started on a trail called Stringer. A fun cross-country style loop. The 120mm front travel soaked up the roots easily, and the hub motor pushed through the climbs and obstacles with no problem. Now a quick note, many travel systems don't allow a throttle-equipped Class 2 e-bike, but for the sake of testing and since I help build and maintain these trails, I figured they let it slide this once. I actually see these kinds of bikes out here a lot, usually ridden by older folks who still love trail riding or riders dealing with injuries that prevent them from using Class 1 pedal assist bikes. I think it's awesome they're still able to get out here and enjoy these trails. For what it's worth, the throttle doesn't have enough torque to spin out, even on soft dirt, and those 4-inch wide tires distribute the weight well. They cut into the trail less than a narrow tire might. The only real torque comes when you're pedaling in boost mode. Then yeah, you can spin the tires. But overall the bike handles great in the woods, tons of control, and the weight really wasn't noticeable. I even had my son Devin out riding it. Now he's a skilled mountain biker, but still, this bike weighs more than he does. Didn't matter. He took it anywhere he wanted and handled it with no problem. On the first hill he cruised up and even managed to turn the bike around to the top without getting off. Balanced ride. Then he rode it right back down.
Okay, you want to try the other hill?
And being a good dad, I told him to try a more sketchy, loose rock climb. He made it about 3/4 of the way up before traction gave out.
Nice.
I gave it a go too. First time I made it just fine by keeping my weight over the rear tire. Second time I leaned too far forward and spun out, which caused me to have to turn around and roll back down. Devin had a blast riding it all over the retention ponds though, and honestly, that's what this bike is all about, having fun and feeling confident while doing it.
Yeah, there's no way.
I'll also say, this bike feels right at home on gravel roads. It flies with a ton of grip and comfort. I can easily see racking up miles exploring logging roads on this thing. I spent the next hour trying to max out the front suspension and riding through every type of terrain I could find. I even got the front tire off the ground a few times trying to catch some air, though my options were very limited at this spot. To me, this bike just feels like a true adventure machine, something you can ride for hours and still have fun. Thanks to the frame, the wide bars, and the overall geometry, it doesn't look like your average fat tire Class 2 e-bike. It actually looks cool, and I'm not embarrassed to be seen riding it, which is surprising. So if you're looking for an e-bike to commute to work, but every now and then feel the urge to take a long off-road way there, this bike can handle it. Maybe I'm biased, but honestly, this bike's pretty badass. If you've ridden one, let me know what kind of terrain you like riding it on. Hope you had a fun time watching, and don't forget to check the description for more details if you're in the market for one. See you on the next one.
Okay, so real quick before we end this video, I got thinking, what if you don't need these fenders and you don't need this rack? How much like a standard mountain bike could you make this thing actually look like? Well, let's find out. And there it is. How cool is that? You take all that off and keep it just the raw bike. This thing looks sick. Take a look. Look at that thing. No more rack on the back, no more fenders. Looks just like a normal off-road bike. We still do have the headlight on it, which is fine. I could pull that wire out and remove it if I really wanted to, but hey, I'll take a headlight. We still have the brakes in the back to show us braking, and of course we still got all this up here. But what do you think? That is pretty sick. Anyway, seriously, video's over now.